$40 buys a kilogram of the other. Buys a kilogram of one. Same formula, 400 times this. Times more. Can the same molecule be worth 400 before sunrise, in a marsh on the Atlantic coast of France? She is not fishing, she is not farming. A woman wades into ankle-deep water. On the surface, and when it does, she is waiting for something almost invisible to form. What she collects today will not fill much more than a jar. It will still be worth more than a month of ordinary salt. 3,000 miles away, inside a sealed industrial plant, the same white crystal pours out by the ton, almost without a single human hand touching it. Every few minutes, day and night, two products, one molecule. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why one of them still has to be made the slow way. Roughly 3.5% of ocean water is dissolved. To understand why, start with the ocean itself. Sodium chloride. Scarcity was never really the problem. So if salt is everywhere, it is one of the most abundant minerals on the planet. Why does any of it cost more than dirt? Because the salt itself is nearly worthless. Almost all of the value comes later, from what humans choose to do with it. Most of the salt in your kitchen never touched the ocean at all. Ancient seabeds, dried out millions of years ago, mining companies drill into them, pump in fresh water, and dissolve the deposit into brine. It came from underground, left behind deposits hundreds of feet down. That brine gets pumped back up and sent to a processing plant, so water boils at a lower temperature and evaporates fast, leaving crystals behind, where it flows into vacuum evaporators, sealed chambers that drop the pressure. Mechanical rakes scrape them out. Rotating drums dry them. Grinders even out the size. The whole line runs with almost no human hands on it at all. One facility can turn out 500 tons in a single day, with anti-caking agents and iodine added at the end. 99.9% pure sodium chloride. The result is table salt. Consistent, clean, 10 cents a kilogram. It has exactly one job, and it does that job perfectly. But it has no story, no texture, no place it belongs to. Just sodium chloride. Now watch what happens when the same molecule is left most entirely alone. Guérande, Brittany, on the Atlantic coast of France, who studied the tides and the wind and laid out a network of shallow pools. The marshes here are ancient, first shaped over 1,000 years ago by monks that still work exactly the way they were designed. Generations of paladiers, salt workers. Salt has been harvested here since around the 10th century, have carried the knowledge forward, family to family, through storms. The process starts each spring. Seawater flows in from the Atlantic, through wars, through centuries, when salt was worth more than gold. Sits. The sun works on it, the wind works on it, and is guided channel by channel, pool by pool, each one slightly shallower than the last. The water, nothing else touches it. Over months, not hours, the salt concentration climbed from 3.5% toward 25%. Somewhere along the way, the water turns faintly pink, colored by an algae called Dunaliella salina, the same organism that gives flamingos their color. By July, in the final and shallowest pools, something starts happening and floats there, refusing to sink. This is fleur de sel on the surface. A paper-thin layer of crystals form the flour of salt. It can only be harvested under narrow conditions, 20 to 24 degrees Celsius. A light, steady wind, enough to help evaporation, not enough to break the surface. Too hot, and the process runs too fast to form properly. Too cool, and nothing forms at all. After that, the day is over. The window opens at dawn and closes by noon. So every morning, for about 6 weeks each summer, most of the people still doing this work today are in their 50s and 60s. The last generation, Ludia, walks into the marsh before sunrise. Instead of a desk, who grew up expecting to inherit a marsh because metal would touch the crystal and ruin it. They carry a wide wooden rake called a lousse à fleur. wood instead of metal. Gathering the floating crystals into a pile, they drag it across the water so gently it barely disturbs the surface. The window is closed until tomorrow. Some of the smallest marsh plots yield only around 1 kilogram of fleur de sel on a good day. Across a full 6-week season, a single plot might produce somewhere around 40 kilograms, drawn from a pool that started out as thousands of litres. Salt sells for somewhere around €40 a kilogram of ordinary seawater. That's 400 times what industrial salt costs for a mineral that started in the exact same ocean. It cannot be sped up. It cannot be mechanized. Weather decides everything, and the Paludia can only show up. Fewer than 100 Paludia families still work these marshes today. Hope the morning cooperates. Down from many more a generation ago. Their children are growing up with easier options in front of them. Will come back to the marsh anyway. Whether enough of them do, not something anyone can promise. Pond is not the only place proving this. Cross the English Channel, and the same molecule tells a completely different story. Maldon, Essex, on the edge of the Blackwater estuary, a name that literally means salty water. People have made salt here since Roman times. A Domesday survey of 1086 already lists dozens of salt pans working this stretch of coast. James Osborne and his son Cyril. 4 generations later, the Osborne family still runs it. Modern Maldon Salt Company was founded in 1882, using a process built on temperature and timing instead of open sun. Water is harvested on spring tides, when steel pans set over gas-fired flues. The water salinity peaks, then filtered and pumped into shallow stainless surface this time, but throughout the pan, the heats, simmers, and crystals begin to form, not sinking as they grow. What comes out is a distinctive hollow, pyramid-shaped flake, a shape that comes from the way this particular brine crystallizes, combined with the specific mineral balance of the Blackwater estuary itself. Run at a different crystal entirely. Same process somewhere else, with different water, and after around 16 hours, the heat switches off and the pans cool overnight. In the morning, workers rake the pyramids out by hand, drain for 2 days, then dry them slowly in a warm rotating tumbler. Too fast, and the delicate flakes shatter. What comes out the other end is thin, crunchy, pyramid-shaped, the kind of flake that shatters into shards instead of dust when you pinch it between your fingers. That still produces only a few tons a year. Tiny texture cannot be reproduced by machine. Maldon by industrial standards, still hand-raked, still family run, and it sells for around $20 a kilogram, 200 times the price of table salt. Now leave Europe behind entirely and travel to a black sand beach on the other side of the world, where salt is made with no machinery at all, not even a heated pan. Kusamba, a fisherman, a woman walks to the beach, carrying empty woven village on Bali's volcanic coast. At baskets on a bamboo pole. She wades into the surf and fills them, then casts them back up the sand, the pole balanced across her shoulders. She will make 1,000 pounds of seawater, carried entirely by hand, in tropical heat. This trip dozens of times before the day is done, well over started yet. The black sand, and that is only the collection. The actual process spreads it flat, pours seawater over it slowly, and is volcanic and porous, full of tiny holes that work like a natural filter. She collects underneath, now more concentrated with salt. She gets the sand absorb it. Some of the water filters straight through and gathers that filtered water and repeats the cycle for hours, pouring, filtering, collecting, again and again, until the sand is baked dry by the afternoon sun. She's hollowed out coconut trunk, called a balung. Left in the sun for a day or two, the water scrapes the crust off the surface, rinses it clean of sand, and pours the resulting brine into what disappears entirely, leaving pyramid-shaped white crystals behind. A full day of work, dozens of trips to the ocean is only a small basket of salt. Given the hours involved, it is barely a living. Most hours of pouring and filtering. Families here now depend on second jobs. Many of their children have already left for work in hotels along the coast. Some who have watched the tradition say this may be the last generation still willing to do it by hand. So volcanic sand leaves behind trace minerals that industrialize anyone keep doing it. Partly tradition, but also because the salt never has. A subtle, earthy note, chefs describe as tasting like the place itself. None of this comes down to the sodium chloride. Every one of these salts is chemically almost identical. What is different is everything around it. The trace minerals, the moisture, the shape of the crystal, the story attached. Fleur de sel it came from. Fleur de sel from Guérande tastes different from fleur de sel harvested anywhere else, because the clay, the algae, and the seawater are different. Maldonix, Bali's salt, carries a trace of iron and volcanic mineral, holds its pyramid shape because of the Blackwater estuary's particular no factory brine will ever pick up. Chemically, these differences barely register. In a kitchen, they matter enormously. A chef finishing seared scallops reaches for fleur de sel instead of table salt. And others hold their shape, so every bite lands a little differently, because it makes the dish saltier, but because some crystals dissolve instantly, because the pyramid flakes crunch against something smooth. A chef finishing a dark chocolate tart reaches for Maldon instead, and the white against the dark brown does half the work before the fork even arrives. Table salt cannot do any of this. It dissolves too fast, too evenly, nothing left to notice. For most of history, this distinction barely existed, and chefs began naming their salts the way sommeliers name their wines. Salt was salt. That changed starting in the 1990s. De sel, Maldon, fleur de sel. Suddenly, salt had a place it came from, and a price that reflected it. High-end restaurants started putting the jar on the table instead of hiding it in the kitchen. The geography became part of the meal. People and keeps food affordable. Industrial salt still does the heavy lifting. It feeds billions. There is nothing wrong with that. But the other kind of salt exists to prove something different. That some things are worth more precisely because they resist being made faster. Luxury was never about rare materials. It was always about how much difficulty a person is willing to survive to get to the rub. A paludier will walk into the Guérande marsh again, the way someone felt. Tomorrow morning, before the sun has for roughly 1,000 years, the ocean will be the same ocean. The salt will still be sodium chloride. The only thing that'll have changed anything at all is the process, and the hands still want to do it the slow way one more time.